it's so amusing to see the waves go crash down on me and drag me into the sea. Why is it so easy to be so indifferent to me when I wear my heart on my sleeve?
Welcome to Skechcraft, the podcast for art, design, and process junkies. I'm Rob Duenas, full-time designer, illustrator, and graphic artist Esquire. This is an unedited podcast, which means there will be cursing from time to time, so please be aware. That said, here we go.
Like a willow tree, getting pulled down by gravity. By gravity. By gravity. By gravity.
And with that, I have returned. Hey everyone, Rob D here. This is Skechcraft, the podcast for art and design process junkies. And it's been 2 months. Fantastic. So last time I left you, I believe the conversation was how to pick yourself back up after a convention, how to get yourself going again after a big project. And one of the ways that you do that is you shirk your podcast for 2 months. No. What you do is you complete the other bunch of stuff that you were supposed to be getting done while you were on that project. So let's start off with the updates. Good news, bad news, and good news. So first good news. We got some wins here since we last left off. Sorry. First off, the Avengers prints all went out. Had a great time with that. I still got a couple personal ones that I print on the side. I think from now on, though, I might... Depends on the run. Like the time I did 50, I think I could stand to move that up to like 75, which or maybe even like I don't know how to work that out. Like I want to keep them limited. I don't want to do large print runs because it gets expensive. Plus, you guys want some collectability. You want to know that hey, I'm not just going to be printing these forever. That being said, I also want to be able to take them to conventions because I do go to a convention 2 or 3 times a year. And those people are always discovering me. I'm frankly just not famous enough, to just wing it. So I'm thinking Avengers is a little bigger than most properties. I think I usually sell between 20 and 40 sets. Usually run 20 for like, the roundabout sets. The Avengers was a little bit. So I'd say if I was average 20, average online, between 20 and 40, then I'd probably want to print somewhere between 75 to 100. So, but I don't think I'd be printing them all up at once because it's a lot upfront cost for me. And then it's tracking the numericals. So that's a little bit of a pain. I have to work that out. I do think though that definitely moving forward, the bonus for pre-orders will be giving out a piece of the art. So this time I sold all the art except the Loki. And if you pre-ordered, you got thrown into the raffle to get one. And Matthew Smith won that. So congratulations, Matt. That Loki got out to you. You received it. And now you own it. So that is awesome. All the other art's been sold except the Nick Fury. And he'll move out of con. That's just one of those characters that people, they love. But if they could get a Captain or an Iron Man, they'd rather. Until they see it in person. And there's always some fan out there who's just, there's always going to be a Nick Fury fan out there. And that'll move. So that was really, really good. All the prints got sent out. Little bit of a learning curve on that. I initially intended to do like 5, just the 5 group. I think it was like Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, and I was going to do Scarlet Widow and ignore Hawkeye. But people wanted Hawkeye. And then that took me up to 6. And then I thought, well, may as well throw in a bonus for Nick Fury. And then people really wanted Loki, so Loki became the bonus. And so then turned into 8. So what happened is I started taking pre-orders when I was about 2 in. And I thought, great, 2 in, 3 more to do. It's about another week or 2. I mean, if I do 2 on a weekend plus the 1, send them off to get printed. So that would be perfect. And it really turned out to be like 5 more. Plus I had to go to the con in the middle of that. And then there was a week I didn't do anything because I was sick. So it drug things out about 3 or 4 weeks. So in the future, I won't be taking pre-orders until I'm at least... See, my sets will be 6 from here on out. So if I'm doing a set of 6, then at when I have 3 done, I'll take pre-orders at the 3 mark, and I'm not adding anything extra. My sets are going to change, so I'll start doing series. Like if I do a series, say like I'm going to get to Street Fighter at some point, so it'd be Street Fighter Series 1. And so this way, people want other characters, I can do that in the future. And then if I have any leftover prints, I can bundle those extra for like, discounted price or something if that's the case. But I generally sell out of everything, which kind of makes it a little difficult because since I limit the prints when I go to cons, I don't have a lot to bring with me sometimes. So rather than fudge the numerical system, which is a little disingenuous, what I thought I'd do is just increase the print numbers. But really what happens is I'll only sell 50 online, and then I'll save the last 50 for like conventions and stuff like that. So I think I'll just change the wording to only 50 available online ever, and that'll be that. So that way when I go to cons, I have stuff to sell from here until infinity. Because, when you're at a con and people would like a weird character, you're just not going to have time to crank that out. So let's move on to some more wins. Another win, Buco Pop. So there's a podcast called Buco Pop. That's BEAUCOPOP, and they interviewed me this past month for their podcast as Artist of the Month. They're all a really, really, really great crew out there. I got some links in the show information, so if you'd like to listen to that interview and learn a little bit more about me and some of my experiences, say at GameFan or Play Magazine, and some of the projects that I've been developing, really, really good interview, and that was a treat. I don't get interviewed too often, mostly because no one knows who the freak I am. So it was really, really a pleasure. And we did that Comic-Con weekend, actually, because I didn't bother going to Comic-Con this year. I was too busy. So, which is weird, right? But that's how it worked out. So again, I'll have links to that. That was really fun. And then also this month for August, I'm the Artist of the Month for Imagine FX magazine. If you're unfamiliar with Imagine FX, I can't imagine you are. But if you are, it's a magazine printed out of the UK. That's sort of like the industry standard for like digital art, and it has like a ton of stuff, and not just digital art, but generally artists in general. But a lot of it's digital. So it was really a treat to be Artist of the Month in there. I did not see that coming. Fantastic, cool issue too. They interviewed Joe Matt on Darksiders too, so it's really cool to be occupying that space. Like that. That's awesome. And then lastly, because of Imagine FX, their sister magazine, Fantasy Artist, which used to be called Digital Artist, now it's Fantasy Artist magazine, they hit me up, and I did a couple commissions for them, tutorials. So the first one is out this month in the new issue of Fantasy Artist magazine. It's issue 36, so it actually could probably take 20 days to reach you. It shipped on the 9th, so always assume that it takes 20 days when magazines ship. But if you have a subscription to that, you can see that now. And I have the artwork for that. It's the Indigo piece. I have my DeviantArt that covers that tutorial. That was fun. And then I have a bigger one coming out in a month or so. So let's talk about some not so good wins. So sometimes, what happens in life is you shoot for the stars and things don't always work out the way you planned. And I like to be pretty transparent on this podcast. So some things that didn't go as well as I had planned. I was late with my cover to Tom for Penny. The cover came out pretty good, I thought, but I was late, and that's never a good thing. But the end result turned out pretty nice. It's the one where they're playing craps. It's on my Deviant. I'll put a link in the show notes. So that turned out all right. But again, I was late, so that wasn't fun. And then the Fantasy Artist Commission. The first one was on time, but I underestimated how long it would take to write all the tutorial stuff, because apparently, like, we write that stuff. When you read those magazines and it has all that tutorial stuff, like, the artist writes it. And when they hand it to us, we get a Word document that has, like, very specific formatting. There's certain ways they prefer you phrase it. If you're gonna do shortcut tips or stuff, there's a certain way you have to write it. On top of all that, they sort of want you to explain certain things, so that... Oh man, that took a full day to write, and I had not anticipated that. So that was pretty much on time. The second commission just went haywire. I had thought that was actually due on the 6th of September, so I agreed to do it. And it turns out that they ship on the 6th of September, and the art was due on the 3rd of August, and I hadn't even started. So I basically got it done in 2 days. And for me, the quality of the piece is, I mean, they're very happy, and it's not bad art by any measure. It's just not something that I'm personally happy with, because I know it could have been twice as good. So that's difficult to deal with. But we got it out, and I apologize beyond reason for it. And I don't know if they'll ever do business with me again, because I seem to be trouble for them. It's almost like sometimes, clients are like dating. Like sometimes you just get off on the wrong foot, no matter how well the intention is. And, you're like, God, I hope this doesn't seem like the way it's running. But, yeah, had I known that was due on the 3rd, I would have just said, no, I can't do it. So that wasn't so good. And as such, because of those two things running right into one another, the Tom cover, the fantasy commission, and the second one, my commissions are late. So I took the commissions thinking I'd start in June and be done with them before the end of July, and then I'd do a print set for July and a print set for August. And I haven't even got to the commissions. So this has been kind of a painful summer. I'm trying to figure out, where it went wrong. Like I know, okay, let's see, I was sick for 2 weeks in June. Well, about a week. Got back into it in the June, finished the painting, which took me 3 weeks straight, plus a week. That's about 4 weeks. So now we're into Comic-Con weekend when I did my interview with Bukopop. And Tom's cover was due. So I got that done. And that Fantasy Effects thing came in at the same time. I did that in a day or two. The 3rd day was writing it. And then I was exhausted. And then I was going in to do commissions. And I started laying out Tom's new cover because I was going to go to Baltimore Con, which is another thing I can't make because of what happened with this fantasy thing. So then what happened is the fantasy thing was due on the 3rd. And just like that, I'm here. Now I'm here. So what am I going to do about commissions? I'm going to finish these 6 I took. No more prints until these are done. I have these 6, plus I have 2 that I've been putting off a year now because they were going to be really intricate commissions. I just want to get them off my slate. So probably no print sets realistically between now and probably all of September. I would like to start in September, but the reality is probably won't be able to start till somewhere around October. But that's the reality. And it really sucks because that sort of brings in the revenue to cover a lot of stuff. And right now I'm just sort of turning around, the product to get it out. But that's what happens. That's the thing I got to suck up. And you guys pay in advance, and that's a bad thing. I'm not proud of that. I have to really manage that better. I think with commissions from now on, I won't take more than 2 because I can do 2. The idea is to do 2 in a week. But with everything else going on, it looks like it's more like 1 a week. So if I take commissions, I'll do 2. They'll fill up immediately. I'll finish them. I'll put them off. But, the problem with taking commissions is that people generally want the same character. So I spend a lot of time drawing the same things over and over again. And at this point, I need to vary up some of the portfolio. So I don't know if I'll be doing commissions for the remainder of the year once I get done with this stuff, actually. There's so much left to do. I just don't know. There's a couple people who've asked me about commissions that I really want to fulfill. I'm getting them something because they've been pretty cool. So I'll hit you guys up if you know who you are, and we'll work that out. But I just don't think I'll be doing too many from now because I have some good news. So that's all the bad news, which takes us to about the halfway mark here on the podcast. And then we get to end with the good news. So what is good? Well, the commissions are actually getting done. I'm going to be working on Batman exclusively tonight, as well as my construction for the new penny cover, and then try to move the penny cover out. Although I think that's due in 3 days. But I'm not going to Baltimore Con, so I got to talk with Tom on that. Because I've been working weekends. There's always something else. That's another thing, too. These, Tom I love working for. Tom is awesome. Big Dog Inc. rules. These side things that I took, like for the fantasy artists, they're really cool people. And they pay well. But it's not really things I can... it's too much trouble. The turnaround times are too short. And I have a very minimal amount of availability now. because of the day job and everything else. So I don't think I'll be taking any of those projects anytime soon. The ideal situation for art will be the sets, plus the stuff I do for Tom, plus the big announcement, which is the biggest one of them all, is, for a while now, I've been getting questions about when I'm going to produce something original, like a comic book or something like that. And I've said, on the Buko podcast, I talk about a project I've had for a while that I want to do called Super Dungeon Heist, which is sort of a cross. And I talked about this on the last podcast a little bit on the way back from PhoenixCon about Monstroids and Super Dungeon Heist. And although I won't be working on Monstroids anytime soon because I just don't have the time, Super Dungeon Heist is going forward, and it's going to be part of something bigger. So what that is something I'm calling Game Cave Magazine. And what Game Cave is, it's going to be a video game blog site that I'm doing. But how is it different than anything else you already go to? Why should you go there instead of Kotaku or Joystick? Well, you shouldn't. It's not really a place to go to sort of replace any video game site you might be going to. What it is going to be sort of a cross between a webcomic and a magazine, in that I'm going to be releasing every week for free video game reviews or previews or features or whatever in a magazine layout format. So, for the lack of a better description, imagine my Game Fan layouts published weekly for free online that you can go to. The format of the magazine will be basically split into three: neo, modern, and retro. So like all the new stuff. Modern is anything current on the system. So if we want to go back and say I want to do a retrospective on a game that was out for a year, I want to do Darksiders 1 and then lead up to Darksiders 2, that would fall into modern. If I want to go back and cover Fez or something that I would love to paint onto the page, essentially, that's what I would do. Lots of art, too. Lots of art, very artistic. It's going to be a cross between a comic book and like an art of book in a magazine sort of format. The layouts, again, they'll be free every week. And then I'm going to publish 4 times a year a magazine that you can buy direct from MagCloud, direct from them, which will be, I'll offer 2 versions, like a 20-page and then a 48-page perfect bound version, 8.5 by 11. So it's about old Game Fan size, the original 90s Game Fan. In the new format, it's going to have a really cool modern retro look, like somewhere between, how do I say this? Somewhere between the 70s and 80s, kind of like that ISO 50 kind of feel, but with magazine layouts. A lot of hand-drawn art by me, no big CG renders, a lot of the stuff I did at Game Fan, but sort of refined and condensed. And then also we're going to do a podcast. And my partner in crime on that will be Mr. James Bacon, who was the managing editor at Game Fan for about a year. And he and I put together the last 2 issues single-handedly, really. So we get along really, really well. And I've been thinking about this for a long time, because I love video game magazines. I didn't realize how much I loved video game magazines until I really ended up working at Play and then making Game Fan. The whole weird situation, how that occurred, is strange. I mean, I've always read video game magazines. It wasn't just about finding out what's the latest game. It was just, to me, there was more, especially Game Fan and Nintendo Power back in the day, were more important to me than a comic book, because there was more pages. They covered a lot of different games. I like the art and the JRPGs and stuff. I was a big fan of Nintendo, so I've always been a gamer, even though I don't get a chance to play them through to completion as much. But I wanted to do something. But I didn't just want to be like, I'm going to have an online magazine. I wanted to be able to print it. However, I don't have the ability to throw down $40,000 every time I make an issue. So I had to find a print on demand that could get it for a reasonable price. And I found that also offers the digital. So how it'll work out is you can buy a staple-bound 20-page version of the magazine, as well as a 48-page deluxe version, perfect bound. $5 for the stapled, $15 for the perfect bound. All the covers are going to be drawn by me. It's going to have a lot of original artwork in there. It's going to have a lot of comic book style stuff. The storytelling, I say storytelling, like the reviews are going to be very storytelling driven. If you were able to look at Game Fan issues 6 and 7, if you look at like what we did with Jamestown or even the Disgaea in issue 7, the Disgaea review plus the history of, lots of stuff like that, all wrapped up in a format that you can track. So I've been spending a lot of time really developing a look for this that will be nostalgic and also capable of supporting the future and whatever platforms. So rather than put platforms on the page, like we're covering these systems, it's really covering new games, modern games, and retro games. Because to me, the consoles are slowly disappearing or becoming irrelevant. There's fewer and fewer first-person content, and with mobile and things like Ouya and God knows what's going on in the future with cloud gaming, Steam. To me, it's really about timeline. You know, what's current, what's coming up, right, or brand new, what's in the future or brand new, this is Neo, what's out now or been out within the last couple of years on all the modern systems. And then, you know, what's the past, what's retro. To me, retro sort of goes from, obviously Atari, but, you know, for console gaming, you know, for me, it starts at the NES and probably goes all the way up to, at this point, probably PS2. Although I firmly believe the Dreamcast is sort of the modern retro era, the beginning and the end of the modern, or the end of the modern retro era. So, yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'll be doing a lot more on that soon. The launch for the site will be October 10th. That's 10/10. I'll have a 0 issue that you can purchase and whatnot. As well as download, so I'll make it downloadable free, but if you would like to purchase the 0 issue for $5, it'll be available. And then moving forward, the issues will be available 3/3, so it's March 3rd, 6/6, June 6th, 9/9, September 9th, and 12/12, December 12th. So it'll be 4 issues a year. The 4th issue will actually take all the content from the site that we do every week and collect it in monthly order. So you'll basically be able to own all the pages we did for the year you'll be able to own it in a 200 page, and it'll be a prestige 200 page $60 version, or was it $50 version, with our year-end stuff. So it's a lot of ideas I've had since I was at Play for a magazine, trying to sort of blend a comic book and some of the older style stuff that I used to collect with the newer content. Again, I could go on forever and ever and describe it to you, but you'll be all seeing it really soon. I just got the 1.0 version of the site designed. It's got some tweaks to do, and then to render out the actual final logo this week, and that's being put into production. My buddy Josh is over at Alden Media Group is handling the building of it and initial coding, and then we'll have that live on October 10th. And we'll move forward with Game Cave. Game Cave is really my future in terms of projects. In Game Cave, I'll have Super Dungeon Heist. So that'll be like 4 pages. I'll post the issues on the comic content of that online. And what I want to do is January of 2014 is release the first collection of that. So it'd be like 48 pages. You know, it'll be the first tome of Super Dungeon Heist. So it's really cool. Like the schedule, the reason why it's for a year, and I'll wrap this up really quick, is because being that all the content, after September 9th, I'll have 3 months to gangbust the remaining half of Super Dungeon Heist so I can do the 48 pages. So by the time I get to December, the issue's done. You know, all the content I'm doing every week. So it's not a big deal to do video game layouts for me. And then either before Christmas or right after, say January, I'll release Super Dungeon Heist. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys, right? Is I want to give you a game magazine, okay, with like the kind of shit we grew up with. Not this shit like Edge, right? And all the modern crap. It's like journalism, okay? You have that. You have plenty of it. You don't need it from me. But something like we grew up with, like what Game Fan actually was in the 90s, but with the aesthetic taste of, say, something modern, a little bit of that PlayStation Magazine feel back in the day, a little bit of that Nintendo Power feel, but modern, right? And then I also want to give you a comic book that I, created and drew and colored. And in order to do that, on top of my day job, folks, and my prints, things have to get cut. I can't do everything, obviously, and I'm trying to like live life a little, like hike and get my health up to shape because I'm not getting any younger. So this is a pretty conservative schedule, all things considered, and game magazine layouts allow me to do that because I can do them fast. I mean, I can even the complicated ones, and then also there's nothing like it, and there won't be. It's fucking hard to do what I did, and people that do it half-assed, it shows. So I plan on sticking with this for a while. James is in it. He's helping me write Super Dungeon Heist, and I'm really, really excited about it. I had to really think about this if I wanted to just do a straight comic book and pursue more comic stuff or something else, and I wanted somewhere between games and comics without actually working on licensed projects. And I'll wrap it up with this. You got to be careful what you agree to do with, or you agree to draw in life or work on, because let's say it's like, hey Rob, we want you to draw the Dead Junior graphic novel. Well, I worked on that for almost 2 years, and it sits on a shelf, all the work we did, going nowhere. Because licensed properties are finicky. So I just want to own everything I create, and I want to bring it to you in a manner, and if I'm running a little bit behind, the only one that's yelling at me is me. But understand, folks, that if I'm behind on something, it's not because I didn't do it or I'm lazy. It's because I prefer to put everything I have into every project I do. And although it kills me sometimes to do it, and I wish I could just freaking get shit done, the glory is brilliant. Pain is temporary, glory is forever. So again, lots of really good stuff happening. I'm very, very excited. Game Cave Magazine. I can't wait. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later, and bye.